There is this notion that some founders have that, because their idea is so great that talent will just show up. What I found over the last, 3 years of recruiting for early stage is that recruiting for early stage is ridiculously hard. It's a fact that great engineering talent looks at the quality of the team as a decision point on whether that's, who they want to align themselves with. The early engineers are the foundation and the building block for what that company can become. The technology company that's able to attract the best talent is the one who wins. There's nothing more important to the success of your startup than the first 10 engineers that you hire. I'm a recruiter at heart. I fell into recruiting by complete accident. Um, I had no idea that it even existed as a profession, and it just felt like the most natural thing for me to be doing. Getting to know people and getting to know companies and getting to know opportunities, and then getting to bring things together, and then getting paid great money to do it. Just felt like the most amazing kind of like hidden secret that existed, and I loved it. So my first year in recruiting was with a mom and pop recruiting shop on the contingency side, and I found myself just doing really well in that time. So I came from an entrepreneurial family, an entrepreneurial background. Running a business was always very, natural for me. And so after 1 year of recruiting experience, I started Binc. This was in 2002, after the dot-com bust, after 9/11. And it was a very tough market, but that was where I cut my teeth, and that was where, Binc's beginnings came from. For the first 7 years, we ran ourselves a very, traditional contingency recruiting company. In 2008, 2009, we saw a shift in the market, and we pivoted to what the market now refers to as embedded recruiting. Back then, there was no real name for it. It was, traditionally referred to as RPO, but tech, didn't work with RPO. And so it was very foreign to the tech industry, this whole concept of like a recruiting SWAT team dropping into this high growth technology company and then going like gangbusters on the market to deliver top talent in this very kind of compressed, aggressive manner. And companies were just into it. And we found ourselves working with these, really amazing brands at very critical inflection points of their growth. Like we were inside of Pinterest before anybody knew what a virtual pinboard was, or we were inside of, Airbnb right when they decided to up level their technical talent bar. We were inside of Ripple. We were inside of Ripple when they were sitting next to Coinbase at Money 2020, and people were like, "Oh, what's this like Bitcoin thing?" And it was just really cool to be on the inside of these incredible brands at these key early inflection points. Anyway, so we ran that up for the entirety of the decade. Really, we grew our company to over 150 people at our peak. COVID thrashed us. We ended up kind of resettling at around 80 recruiters, and then Robinhood acquired us in early 2021. They were a big customer of ours. They couldn't grow fast enough. It ended up making mutual sense for us to make our way over there. It was a very storied exit for the technology and recruiting industry. It kind of, hadn't been heard of as an outcome. However, as I grew the company over the years, I found myself like I'm a recruiter. Like I love to recruit. I love getting to know good talent, top talent. I love competing for top talent. I love working with founders and hiring leaders and working to shoulder to shoulder with them to see them achieve their visions through the accumulating of of the incredible teams that they need in order to do that. Like I love that. And I found myself as I was growing Binc, while our company did that and while our recruiters got to do that, like I personally felt removed from that. I spent spending a lot more of my time like leading the company and leading teams and kind of working through recruiters to see those outcomes achieved. When we came over to Robinhood, that was even exasperated because Robinhood's a big company. We had up to over two to 300 recruiters at some point. I mean, it's a massive organization, massive operation, hiring thousands of people per year. And I'm in a head of recruiting role, and which for the most part means you're kind of managing things by spreadsheet or by document or by meeting, but very removed from the actual talent that's in there, building in a day-to-day basis. And when I moved on from Robinhood, I did a lot of reflecting, and I found myself, having the opportunity to do what I want, and I really wanted to, you know, be spending my time, recruiting and directly interacting with this talent and founders and building teams and just being more hands-on involved in those kind of formative, stages. And so that combined with some of my favorite, times in recruiting being the early Binc days when we, were on the inside of these incredible brands as a smart team, as a small team, having this kind of formative impact. And, you know, that combined with like where the market was at the time, this was like early like 2023 timeframe. ChatGPT had just come out on the scene. AI was being proclaimed as this, transformative technology, which, it's proven now over the years that it very much is that. Mark and Andreessen Horowitz is, they coined American dynamism. There was this kind of mega trend about, reindustrializing America. And all of that was starting from the early startup. Like everything in Silicon Valley starts from a startup, like Google, Meta, these like mega brands started with like founders in a room with a dream, needing to go recruit like some key person, some key people to turn their dream into reality. And that was all happening like right now, 2023, like ground floor. Every founder was coming out of the woodworks. So it was like a once in a 100-year opportunity, and it just felt like the future was being built like right now, like, and it was being built from the early stage. So it just felt like for all those reasons, there was no better place for me personally to spend my time. If I just had, the choice of where to spend my time, there was like no better place than early stage hiring for those three, for those three reasons. So why I decided to start. That's why I decided to recruit for the uh, you know, early stage startups. Why did I call our company First 10? Once this idea became, top of mind for me, then I'm into names. Like I think like the name of a company is really important. And so I would keep my eye out for different names, and nothing kind of quite rung until I landed on the concept of First 10. And where I heard First 10 was it was an interview that Patrick Collison, the original the founder of Stripe, he was giving an interview, and he literally said, like, there's nothing more important to the success of your startup than the first 10 engineers that you hire. And that really stood out because Stripe is a startup that I greatly admire. I watched Stripe get founded, and I watched it build its team at the time that Stripe was founded, at the time that Stripe built its team. We were in our early embedded days at Binc. So we didn't recruit for Stripe, but we recruited for many of the talent competitors that Stripe competed with at the time. And I watched these two founders out of MIT and Harvard, Patrick and John, and they were building a payment startup, and payment, was not considered a cool place to build. Like PayPal had already kind of, moved on and grown past payments being cool. And these two guys, young guys, college graduates, were very quietly building this incredibly uh, talent dense team. Like they're pulling other people from, MIT and Harvard and CMU and these like incredible places, and they're all there to build payments. And I was like, what are these guys doing that's so attractive to this top talent? And I just found it fascinating. And I'm like, those guys, it's obvious that they're going to do well. Like you have all this talent there. And so I watched Stripe go from like, these two founders, and, they're building this early team, to like, now where they're like, one of the most storied technology companies in Silicon Valley, worth, 50 or 100 billion, dollars right now. And this like kind of spotless brand. And it all started from the ambition of the founder, the recruiting ability of the founder, and the talent dense team that they built. And so hearing Pat Collison talk about there being nothing more important to the success of a startup than the first 10 engineers, because the first 10 engineers impacts the second 10 engineers, and so on and so forth. I'm like, yeah, that's the ethos right there. And so I'm like, what if we just call ourselves First 10? Like that's a cool company. So, I sat on it, and that's what ended up sticking. I ended up buying the domain name first10.com, and it was on. So okay, insert first 10. So here's how we work. First, it starts with our vetting process. I think deciding who we work with and who we don't work with is critical to our success. So we primarily look for founders and startups that we believe will be attractive to the top talent that they seek, and the top talent that we know to be interested in early stage. So we look for compelling founders. We look for founders that have a compelling value proposition for their business, that have a compelling view of the world, that have a compelling technical value proposition. I know how to describe their product in a technically compelling way, that are working on compelling technical challenges. We look for founders that have attracted top talent already in the form of top investors, in the form of top caliber early engineers. We look for founders that have a strong ability to evaluate and that are excited to recruit, so that are great recruiters themselves. So that's what we look for. We talk to 2 to 5 startups per week on average, and we pick maybe one every month or so to work with. So that's about what our vetting cadence looks like. And this is actually not uncommon for top search firms. Um, is Top search firms tend to be on the choosing end of who they work with. Of course, the founder and the startup have to choose as well, but top search firms tend to be more in demand and more on the choosing side, almost akin to top talent. Like, of course, the startup has to decide to extend an offer to the person, but the top talent tends to have multiple options available to them, and they tend to be the one that's doing the majority of the choosing. We've made the decision to work with a fewer number of startups at a deeper level, than working with a broader number of startups at a more superficial level. I believe one of the problems with recruiting is that they optimize for the latter. They optimize for working with a larger number of startups at a more superficial level. And again, we optimize for going deeper. So by going deeper, what that means is when we choose to work with a startup, there's only two ways that we could work with. There's only two ways that we work with startups. One is what we refer to as retained search. It's very similar to what the market thinks about when a company works with an executive recruiter to fill a mission critical role for that company. We do exactly that, but for early engineering talent. So when a company needs to hire a founding engineer or a key engineering leader or a specialized engineer to round out some part of their early team, then we take those searches on in a retained capacity. The second way that we work with startups, when a startup needs to hire 3 or more people to their early team, we assign what the market refers to as an embedded recruiter. We assign one of our recruiters to work in a fully dedicated fashion for that startup and be practically an extension of that founder's recruiting ability. And then that recruiter's job is to go out to the market, identify great talent, engage that talent, and then work closely with the founder to navigate that talent through the full life cycle. So what do we do different than what the market does is we go deeper on both of those instances. So for example, when we take on either of those two searches, the first thing that we do is we overinvest in understanding the startup's value proposition. What is it? What's the problem in the world? What is it that you're building that's specifically intended to solve that problem? What is it that you're building from a product perspective? What does that look like from a technological perspective? And then we think about all of that from the lens of the top engineer. What is it that the top engineer is attracted to that would make this a compelling opportunity? And we'll work with you to understand the value proposition and then craft the right narrative and collateral to be armed with what we need to share with top engineers to attract them to your startups. That's one. We overinvest in value proposition. The second thing that we do is we go deep on the market. So we primarily take a market mapping based approach towards the filling of these roles. So we believe that for every founding engineer or for every engineer that a startup needs to hire, there's a very specific market that that person is a part of. So that means what companies is it likely that this person is working at right now? At what levels of organization is this person likely at? What subject matter depth does this person likely have? What specialty capabilities does this person likely have? What 0 to 1 development experience or what early development experience is it likely that this person has? So the combination of those attributes is what makes up the target market. So we'll profile that entire target market uh, and then systematically engage that talent to identify, engage, and then navigate that talent through to closure. So those are the two ways that First 10 works with startups, and again, specifically focusing that energy on early teams is how we differentiate and how our startups benefit. When I say startup, by the way, we are called First 10. We do love building early teams, engineers number 1 through 10. We do work with startups that are larger than 10. I just want to make that clear. Our largest startup right now is a little bit over 100 people. We started with them when they were just shy of 10 people. So we've stayed with them as they grow. So when I say startup for us, I'm commonly referring to seed through B funded startups. I'll share a little bit about the types of startups that we work with, so you could kind of get a you know sense of what we're attracted to and what we see as standing out in the market. Again, we primarily look at any startup that we work with from the lens of what a top engineer would find most attractive. And we know that top engineers are inundated with opportunities that don't sound distinguished. And so from that lens, here are a handful of startups that we work with. Most of the startups that we work with are building something AI related. Again, it's just kind of transformative technology, and that's where a lot of the development emphasis is going. Within the AI spectrum, handful of startups that we're working with right now. We're working with this really cool startup that's applying AI to the world's largest human tissue data set. So this is AI meets biology in order to uncover novel treatments to a range of diseases. They're actually focusing on neuro and spinal related diseases. So this kind of, holy grail of, human health problems, they're applying AI to this space in order to uncover novel treatments. We're helping them hire on the, AI science side, and they're doing some incredible work, an incredibly talented team there. Another startup that we're working with, totally different. They're building an AI co-pilot for the physical workforce. Like, we computer people are blessed with, ChatGPT and Claude and all these kind of wonderful tools to code better and to, help write better emails and stuff like that. But then you have this, multi-trillion-dollar workforce and, billions of people that are a part of that don't spend their days in front of a computer. Plumbers, electricians, home builders, people in the real people that just spend their days away from a computer. They don't get this, uh, this company is building the AI co-pilot for that demographic. I'll just kind of leave it at that. Another really cool startup that we're working with, we're really excited about the blending of software and hardware, and the emergence of robotics and the emergence of physical technology that will kind of manifest all the AI capability that's being built. So we're working with the startup that's building an AI companion, and they're manifesting that companion in the form of this really novel AI voice technology that sounds more human than a human. They've nailed the tone and the latency and all this incredible kind of way that a voice sounds real, and then they've parlayed that with a family of hardware products that are intended to kind of be the manifestation of this voice. Incredible talent dense team, starting with their founder, their early engineering team, and well, incredibly difficult team to hire for, and that speaks to the caliber of talent that they've assembled. I'll mention two more quick startups. You could tell I love the startups that we work with. The founders are incredible, teams are incredible, and they're building products that I legit believe the world needs and will have once these startups are successful. Two more startups. One of our startups, San Francisco based. These guys are building a fuel efficient supersonic jet, like the whole freaking jet, end to end. The whole vision is for people like me and you to be able to fly from SF to Japan in under 4 hours, like commercial supersonic flight. Insane. Um, they're building across the entirety of their team, software, electrical, propulsion. We're helping to build key parts of their software team, SF based. Again, incredible talent dense team. Another startup that we're working with, Seattle-based. We usually work primarily with SF-based startups, but the Seattle-based startup really caught my eye. They're building what I like to describe as the Spotify for investing. Think about on Spotify, you have artists and you have songs. In the same way, these guys have built a platform where you have notable research firms um, presenting, themed portfolios and themed baskets of investments that align with people's interests. So if you're like, hey, all this crazy stuff's going on in the Straits of Hormuz in Iran, how do I invest based on what's happening there? Or like, hey, there's this massive, data center build out in America. Like, where do I invest my money if I'm interested in that as a theme? Or like, hey, Japan just got a new prime minister. Where do I invest given that, change of events? And so these guys create baskets of investments that align with a range of different themes, and they let people come in, browse through their investments, and then pick the ones they like. Seattle-based, talent-dense team, incredible founder, early stage, and so these are all just examples of startups that we work with, and they're all hiring key early talent. Of course, this is right now. We work with new startups on a very regular basis. And so, if you find yourself excited by the idea of working with early stage or any of these startups, then hit us up, obviously, and then happy to share what we're currently working on or what we might have in store at whatever time you might be listening to this. Shifting gears into founders, here are the type of founders that tend to do better in markets like this. Here are the types of founders and the type of founder qualities that tend to be more conducive to the building of top and early teams. And I'm thinking about founders that we work with. I'm thinking about the range of founders that we've gotten to know and which attributes stand out. And really it comes down to if it had to come down to one thing, it comes down to talent magnetism. Let's call it kind of that. Let's bucket everything under talent magnetism. Are you as a founder someone who is a magnet to top talent? Are you someone that is attracted to top talent? Are you someone that top talent wants to be connected with and wants to work for? Here are the attributes of a talent magnet. Someone who has a compelling vision for the future of the world. Someone who sees the world in a way that is compelling and attractive. Someone who has a vision for the way the world will go. Someone who's decided to build something that you can tell makes sense, and you could tell will be big, and you could tell the world needs it, and you could tell this person has a reasonable shot at building it, right? Okay. Then someone who understands technology in a way that could describe the way the product needs to be built in order for that vision to be manifested. So you need the right founder that talent is attracted to has to have a version of technical depth. This makes competing for top engineering talent difficult for non-technical founders, which is maybe a whole separate episode. But so technical depth and the ability to describe the technology in a way that's compelling to top talent. Remember, these are engineers, right? These aren't business visionaries that you're trying to attract. You're trying to attract engineers that like sitting in front of a computer, creating something from code, right? And so the ideal founder needs to be able to convey the product vision in a way that speaks to this engineering talent. Those are the two probably like biggest things. Then the next thing after that is some sort of validation, right? So has the founder already attracted some version of that to their team? Are there top investors involved? Who are they? Are there other top founders involved? Are there other top early engineers involved? So top engineering talent will develop a perspective from the founder based on their vision. Then they'll develop interest based on the compelling nature of the product that needs to be built. Then they'll see who else is involved. They'll want some version of that social proof or peer proof. Those are the three big things that it takes for a founder to stand out and compete. And I mean, I'm thinking now in my mind of things that founders that we work with could have done better or could have gotten more right if they wanted the team that they wanted. So I'll just kind of litter off a handful of them. So number one, under investing in recruiting. Some founders think that if they hire a recruiter, then that means they could spend less time in recruiting. And yeah, sure, they arguably could, because a recruiter is going to go spend a ton of time researching the market and sourcing and vetting and then setting the founder up. But the founder can't unengage in recruiting. The founder has to be available for every meeting with a candidate. They have to be leaned in for real-time, situations that are related to hiring. They have to stay, active and prioritize. And I've seen founders, miss on candidates when they're, too unengaged or too slow to respond. And candidates just feel that. Like in startup land, like, if you interview a candidate and then you wait like 3 days to get back to them, like, whole worlds have changed in 3 days by the time like that founder chooses to get around to it. So that's not a player in today's market. So stay engaged if you're a founder. Number two, I've seen founders make mistakes by under offering, like under compensating. I have a live situation right now where we're looking at outdated and irrelevant PAVE data that's informing the founder on how to think about compensation. And I'm like, yo, I haven't looked at PAVE in like I don't even know how long. Like it's out of date. It's not really in touch with like the kind of market that we are operating in right now. Like, I mean, you could listen to what the spreadsheet says, but you're not going to then hire the candidate. And so the lesson there is like stay very attuned to the market. Like candidates will tell you like what they're seeing from other startups, like other founders will tell you what they're paying. Like that's the market. Like literally imagine like a SWAT beat, like a market, like you're walking around like what are things going for? Like that's way more valuable than like whatever your spreadsheet says. Because your spreadsheet, I mean, who knows where that was written or who wrote that thing or what that is saying. Like you want to be competing for the thing you want to be competing for, right? And so that's a big mistake that I've seen founders make. The third point that I'll make is founders, this is probably the toughest one. Founders that find themselves in a situation where, look, they have a good startup and they're building something important and they have customers and they have investors and they have revenue and they have like all these things. And they happen to be building something that gets candidates excited enough to interview with them, but not enough to accept offers. This is a really, really tough pill for a founder to swallow because the way that a founder sees it is, they interview a bunch of candidates and then they, have a high bar. They, take their time and do everything right to get to offer. And then they tend to lose these offers, not once, not twice, but like they tend to like lose on the people who they want. And that's actually a really tough pill for a founder to swallow because, from a recruiter perspective, what that means, said just kind of plainly, is, the candidates who you want don't want you. Unfortunately. And it's not that they don't want you, it's that they don't want the current version of yourself that you're conveying And so what I would then say to that founder, and what I do say to that founder is like, look, like everything in recruiting is solvable. Everything is solvable. There's no such thing as a problem that can't be solved. What I would do with that founder is first go back to their value proposition. What is it that you're, conveying to these candidates? Like what do you do? How do you describe yourself? How do you describe what you're building? I'm thinking of startups right now that sound similar, that sound too similar to other startups. They don't stand out in a compelling enough way. Like you heard me describe some of the startups that we work with. Those startups stand out. There are not. I don't even think there's more than one startup that sounds the way that we describe these startups. Like that is what it takes to compete for top talent. You have to be like the one for these candidates to want to join you, not like the one of many, not like the ones building in this space. There are a lot of people building in every space. You have to kind of stand out. You have to be the one. So I would work with these founders to like push them deeper than they kind of want to go to really kind of figure out like what is it about you, not your space, not your kind of type, but like you that these candidates should be excited about. That's like one thing that I would do with them. The second thing is they're probably not competitive on comp. They're probably being overly conservative. They're probably spending too much time managing to a spreadsheet and not enough time managing to like what it takes to hire the next critical person to join their team. They might have to whatever they think is overpayment for that person. Like companies are paying extraordinary amounts of money for top talent. Look at what Meta is doing. Look at what OpenAI. Look at what Anthropic is doing. Look at the amount of money that these people are being offered. And these early startups say, "Well, oh, I'm not that big." Yeah, but you're still trying to compete for that same talent, right? And so, what those companies are doing is unnatural for them. What you should be doing should be proportionally unnatural, right? I think the best way for a founder to go into a recruiting situation is similar to the way like a professional sports team goes into a recruiting situation. You have to have a lot of respect for your competition. I mean, like, yeah, you're in the NBA, but you're not the only one in the NBA. You have like 300 other people that are in the NBA that are like all like top like worldwide athletes. And so, like, yes, you are a top founder probably, but there are many others like you, and going into it with a healthy dose of humility and competitive spirit tends to pay better for founders motivated to compete in the space. It'd probably be helpful if I shared a little bit about about the recruiting landscape for early stage hiring and what's specifically broken about that, or what is what is a challenge to founders. So everybody said that hiring for early startups is really hard. And I was actually discouraged from getting into early stage hiring. They said it's so hard. I don't know why you want to do that to yourself. You don't have to do that. Um, so I didn't listen to them. I believe that it would be just fine. What I found over the last 3 years of recruiting for early stage is that was an understatement. Recruiting for early stage is ridiculously hard. And I'll share a little bit about what's so hard about early stage recruiting. Um, Founders, treat their startup, and rightfully so, as their baby, right? And they treat every hire that they need to make as the most kind of important and precious thing to them, which on the one hand, rightfully so. Um, but wow, does it, does it make for a lot of particularity, right? I'll say that nicely about, the evaluating and scrutinizing of talent, that's being considered for these open roles. So on the one hand, you have picky founders, which they're, right to feel that way. On the other hand, you have, and so you have picky founders coupled with those founders and that startup having zero name or brand in the market, like zero public reason why anyone should care about this startup. So you have like high particularity, low brand, and attraction, and you also actually have a ton of ego. I mean, not in a bad way, but just think about the pure hubris you have to have as a founder to believe that you're going to create something that all these other, these 6 billion other smart people in the world haven't created, right? You as a founder have to believe that the world needs this thing that, doesn't otherwise exist, and that you're the one that's going to build it, right? And these people are going to want to come work with you to do this. So it's like this combination of particular founders, huge level of like, you know, I'm right, and then combined with no brand. So that's from the founder side. On the candidate side, candidates, have their own set of particularities. Candidates, for the most part, come from a place of I want to work for a startup if I was sure that the startup would be successful, but the startup has no name, the startup has no brand, the startup has no traction. I don't know who the founder is. I don't know who the team is. I don't know what product they're building. I'm not sure about the space, and I was hit up by 16 of these in the last week. So okay, let's go give it a look, right? That's the, candidate lens. And so why is recruiting for early stage so hard? Because it's our job to like put those two situations together. And it's just, it's just really hard. There's this notion that some founders have that, because their idea is so great that talent will just show up. Um, it is a very naive way to look at the market. Um, Top talent has options. Every founder thinks that their idea is the winning idea, and so therefore, a top engineer is gets gets the benefit of evaluating, multiple, top sounding opportunities on a regular basis. And so our job is to find that engineer in the market and then convey a compelling message, to that engineer, that will be compelling. So it really comes down. One of our we have First 10 has three values. One is founder mode. We embody the mindset of the founder, and we are like extensions of the founder when partnering with a startup. Number two is white glove experience. We stand out by following up when we say we're supposed to follow up, preparing everyone for every instance, being kind of like high touch in all of our instances, think like Michelin star experience. And the third one is specialist level expertise. So I believe that it's being the specialist in early stage team building in the current technology marketplace and in, talent, progression that, we use to know exactly what a message should convey to a top engineering prospect that will be, attractive to them with regards to this, to any specific early startup that we may be building. I will say, however, that a startup a startup can't recruit better than the recruiting abilities of the founder. So the startup ceiling from a talent perspective is the recruiting abilities of the founder. So the best that a startup could do with regards to team quality is the recruiting ability of the founder. That's why when we look for startups to align with, we look for recruiting ability of the founder. We align ourselves with the founders that have the kind of uh, greatest ambition and the greatest ability to fulfill on that ambition based on their team recruiting abilities. So the better that a founder is able to do, the better the respective team will do. So when a founder is having a difficult time, attracting that top talent, the best that a founder could do is to improve their own ability to recruit. Now, a recruiter is a great partner in that, and a recruiter is a great manifestation of that, because if a founder is excellent and has if I'm recruiting for the Stripe founders, then I'm able to go pull top talent from the market, and I'm able to bring them to the founders, and the founders are showing me that they could, not only attract, but they could, evaluate and then close this talent. That emboldens me as a recruiter to go out and pull even better talent for that startup. If, let's say, however, Pat and John were having a hard time closing talent. Let's say I pull these top engineers and I bring them to Pat and John, and these engineers decide that they don't want to move forward. That now empowers me to have a great conversation with Pat and John and say, hey, we're struggling to close the talent who you say you want. So what that means is we need, like, we/you need to up level your abilities to close them. So let's work on your, recruiting pitch. Let's work on the defining of the value proposition that it will take. And all these things can be done. And we work with founders all the time where we kind of massage their abilities to go attract and close this top talent. But it all starts with motivation for founders to build the best team possible. It all starts with a founder believing that there is nothing more important to the success of a startup than the first 10 engineers that they have. And again, the right recruiting partner is a great kind of way to manifest that. When all is said and done, the truth of truths that founders should, just memorialize and, stick on their forehead every single day is there's no, silver bullet. There's no magic bullet in recruiting. There's nothing that they could do that will replace the need for them to take full responsibility for the quality of early team that they hire and do everything it takes to see that early team built. That includes going out to the market and identifying that talent, engaging that talent, investing a ton of time to close that talent, identifying the right recruiting partner, over investing their time with that recruiting partner, participating actively in the process with that recruiting partner. There's just no replacement for that. Not AI, not technology, not executive assistants, not even third-party recruiters. Nothing will replace the founders' need to invest at that level. And the founders who invest at that level are the ones who build the standout teams. The ones who don't just find themselves, not able to compete at that level or in that game. So yeah, this is first 10, and this is our world, and we're in year 3, right? So it's our 3rd year doing this. I ran Binc for 19 years. I know kind of what it takes to grow a company in the arc that it takes. First 10 is early, okay, and I believe that we're early in the market, and I believe the market is early. So we're part of this massive mega trend, and I started First 10 with the intention of this being something that I'm very happy that I started like 30 years from now. So like 30 years from now, I'm excited about the prospect of, First 10 being this, staple in the market that has been a critical part of, hand building these incredible early teams at these notable startups that are going to be, multi-billion and trillion-dollar enterprises in 10 years from now, in 20 years from now. And we're going to have these like just really cool stories to be able to share about what that founder was going through at the time and what it took to kind of handpick each of the key people that are now, gazillionaires and retiring on their own islands. And this is why we started First 10, and this is why we do First 10. I got to give a massive shout out to my team. I love our team. They're in the trenches every single day, grinding with these founders, working through the difficulty of, helping to kind of handpick the select talent that it takes to grow these early startups. And, I'm just really excited for the future. AI is early, robotics is early, the reindustrialization of America is early. And I'm just thinking about what the future will look like when these technologies are built, when like disease is eradicated, right? When, people are walking around with their, personal robots, and we've probably got nano robots flowing through our veins, and just these amazing, amazing things that have yet to be built that we're just in the very, very early stage of. And it just feels like there's no, greater place to be spending time than this. So, if you're a founder and are excited about the prospect of building a top early engineering team, hit us up. We would love to chat with you. If you're an engineer and you're excited about the prospect of joining an early startup, you want to get to know what's going on in the early startup space, definitely hit us up. We're always working with really cool, exciting startups. And you should also join The Wire. The Wire is this private WhatsApp community that we started where we share, we scour the world of startups, right? And through the lens that we shared here, we hand pick these early teams that we see as important talent signals for where talent density is forming, where great teams are building. and that you, if you're excited about kind of staying aware of what's happening in the world of early startups, should stay aware of. And so there's a private WhatsApp community. It's called the First Time Wire. Hit me up, we'll get you an access code. Yeah, my name is Boris Epstein. It's very exciting to be building along such incredible entrepreneurs during such an incredible time in history. I think we're going to go back and look at this as a once in a kind of 100-year time frame, and there's no place that I would rather be professionally than working with early startups. It's just incredibly fun, incredibly humbling, and incredibly rewarding. And on that, I'm off to recruit for my next founder.